In a small village in Japan lived a man called Takasu Genbei. He lived with his mother and would worry about her every time he went out to work. When he returned home after a long day of hard work, his mother would complain about her loneliness. Seeing her look so forlorn, Takasu decided that his mother would be better off with some company. A few days later, on his way to work, he heard the sounds of a kitten wailing. Takasu inspected behind the bushes and found a kitten laying beside her dead mother. Pity rose in his heart and he decided to adopt the kitten. He took it home and gave it to his mother, who was ecstatic to finally have some company. Takasu was relieved to see his mother looking so happy, and now every day when he returned home from work, it would lift his heart to see his mother so cheerful. Years passed, and one night when Takasu was spending some time with his friends, one of them asked him about his pet cat. Takasu smiled and told them how the cat had brought so much happiness into his household. "How old is your cat?" one of them asked. 7 years old, he replied. His friend clicked his tongue. "You know what they say about old cats?" "What?" Takasu asked. "They develop supernatural abilities. The only way to stop them from becoming yokai is by cutting their tails short." "That's inhumane," Takasu said. "I would never hurt my yummy like that." The other friend chimed in. "But you must. It is the only way to stop the cat from harming you with its evil powers." Takasu got up in anger. "I think you both have had too much to drink. I'm going home." When Takasu returned home, the house was plunged in darkness, save for a single lamp burning in his bedroom. He assumed his mother must have gone to sleep and turned off all the lamps and left one on for him. When he entered his room, he gasped when he saw a shadow of a furry monster dancing. The monster paused, and Takasu advanced into the room, only to find some hair near the lamp. He picked it up and inspected the black hairs and realized it belonged to Yami. He went into his mother's room and found her asleep and snoring. He looked towards the foot of the bed where Yami usually slept, and he found the spot empty. Takasu was drunk and tired to the bone. He decided he would be better off looking for the cat when he was sober. The next morning, he searched everywhere for his pet, but couldn't find him anywhere. His mother became quiet and depressed as the days passed on. Takasu offered to get her another pet, but she refused. She started to spend all her time in her room, doing nothing but staring out the window. Takasu wondered if his mother had developed dementia or was sinking into depression. When her friends came to visit, his mother didn't recognize them, nor wish to speak to them. She barely ate any food except for some fish now and then. One night, when Takasu returned late, he saw a shadow of a creature standing on its hind legs with a napkin on its head, dancing about near the lamp. Takasu rushed over to the lamp and again found no one. He bent down and inspected the floor to find more cat fur. It looked like it had belonged to Yami, although he couldn't find the cat anywhere around the home. The next day he talked to his mother, who would simply stare out the window and say nothing. He asked her if she had seen Yami, and she looked at him and she hissed. Takasu realized his mother was spiraling into madness at the loss of her pet cat and decided to never speak of Yami again. The next morning at work, his friend came over and told him he'd gone over to his house to borrow some tools and found his mother behaving strangely. "She was licking the oil in the lamp," he told Takasu. "She didn't recognize me at all and made hissing sounds when I tried to enter." "She's unwell," Takasu said solemnly. "I think she's possessed," his friend said. "Here's what you should do. Tonight, don't enter your house through the front door. Don't alert her of your presence in any way. Then peek at her through the bedroom window. If she is who I think she is, you will learn the truth." Takasu didn't believe in ghosts and superstitions, but he took his friend's advice nevertheless. He had to know why his mother was behaving strangely. He crept up to her bedroom window and peeked inside, only to get the fright of his life. In place of his mother, he saw Yami, a little bigger than before, wearing his mother's clothes and chewing on the carcass of a rat. Takasu entered through the front door and rushed into his mother's bedroom. He blinked, and Yami turned into his mother. Takasu was certain he was hallucinating, and that his friend's superstition had gotten into his head. He tapped his mother's shoulder, and she turned and hissed at him for a mere second. Takasu was certain her eyes were those of a cat's. Takasu reported this incident to his friends, who reluctantly told him that the only way to defeat the yokai was to slay it. Takasu was aghast. There must be another way. "What about cutting off the tail? Remember when you said that?" he asked. His friends solemnly told him that it was too late. The cat will not show its true self. It is pretending to be your mother now. That is not your mother. Takasu wept. "But then where is my mother? If what you say is true, and that thing in my house is Yami, then where is my mother? What happened to her?" His friend shrugged. "We don't know. First you need to get rid of the yokai in your house." Takasu returned home, a boning knife in his hand. He entered his mother's bedroom, his hands quivering. "Mother," he whispered. His mother was sitting on the bed, her back to him. Takasu came forward and put a hand on her shoulder. She turned, opened her mouth and shrieked. Takasu's heart turned cold. He raised the knife and plunged it into her heart. A monstrous scream erupted from his mother's mouth, and in the next instant, he saw the corpse of his dead cat. "Where's my mother?" Takasu screamed at the corpse. "What did you do to her?" He banged his hands on the floor, and then he felt one of the boards move. He gasped and pushed aside one of the boards to find the carcasses of small animals and the skeleton of his mother. Her bones gnawed clean of all her flesh. Takasu cried out in grief. It was then that he heard mewing sounds. He looked to the corner and saw a striped cat with black and white kittens feeding. The cat glared at Takasu, and he realized they were Yami's family. His breath hitched in his throat as the cat pushed aside her kittens and came towards him, crying out a warning. The next instant, she lunged at him. A few days later, Takasu's friend came over to look for him when he didn't turn up for work. They knocked on his door, and he opened it, his eyes vacant. "Where have you been?" his friends inquired. "What happened with your mother?" Takasu opened the door wider. "Why don't you come inside and I'll tell you everything." The friends entered and wrinkled their noses with the stench of rotten flesh greeting them. "What is that smell?" they asked. Takasu closed the door and locked it. He turned around, his face transforming into the face of a monstrous cat. He then shrieked and lunged at them.